So let's give these blocks some attributes. So they need, well, that's given us a name attribute, which looks like we got the visualizer left turned on there. Okay, so each block will have a separate name. Let's connect them together. So I'm not going to pack this yet. Let's give this a proper name. So we'll call it main cable. Okay, and let's drop a ABD constraints from rules. So into the render geometry and the proxy geometry together. Okay, again I want surface points here, so you can see we're connecting up the edges between them. Just obviously important that we don't have constraints between the cables like that. So just by default, like that is fine. And then ABD constraint properties. Where are we? There we go. Okay, and for this, I'm not going to use soft. I'm going to use. I found that hard constraints work better for me when I want something really rigid and kind of stiff looking, like cables, and also we don't need plasticity. So obviously with the soft constraints, it's nice to have the plasticity for metal. But in this case, it's a cable and it's very stiff. It's not going to move a lot, so I'm going to stick with hard constraints for this. You experiment with the two. I often experiment between either hard or soft constraints because they can be used for the same thing. But I'm going to stick with hard constraints in this case. Okay, let's drop a configure. So ABD configure. So this will pack everything up, ready to simulate. Okay, and again, we need to, similar to what we did previously, we need to set some of these pieces to be inactive so that, it's like the cables are being held up by we have towers at the end of the bridge, obviously. We don't just want everything to fall. So we'll do that just like before. We'll kind of group it, but this time it won't be animated, to be much more simple. So let's just template that, make a box. I'll just make it big and then move it across in either direction. Okay, so just move that across that way until it's just grabbing the last kind of piece. So we'll do 19 and then do another transform and just do it to -19 like that. Merge these together and then plug it into the last input of this configure. And then we will set the active, the active attribute to use bounds, and then let's visualize that. Active, there we go. Okay. So this needs to be off, I think. There we go, yeah. So anything in the box, in the bound is not active, and that by default will set everything else to be active. Okay. So that's all we need to do in there, I believe. Let's drop our ABD bullet solver. Connect up constraints, main geometry, and the proxy geometry. Let's visualize this. This should simulate really quickly as we've got, it's quite simple geometry. I'm just going to turn this off just in case. They shouldn't stretch or, but I'll just get rid of that so we don't want any of these constraints to break. Just press play and we'll see them sag down a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is use the previous simulation to guide this simulation. So if you go there to the last input, you can see we've got this guided sim, which is something that came new into Houdini in 17, I think, or 17.5, I'm not too sure. But basically the idea is that you use a animation to guide the simulation of another bullet simulation, right? So we're going to grab, so from here, this bridge sim, so I'll just copy that just so I don't have to go looking for it. Come in here and then just Control V. we go, and then that grabs that simulation, and then plug it into the last input. Okay, and then let's come in here, visualize. So if we turn on show, where are we? This is grayed out because we haven't got it turned on yet. So go to guided simulation, turn on use guides, go back to visualize and show guided. Okay, so that's turned blue because everything's been guided now. And that should work as it is. If we template that so we can see the bridge and just start the simulation from there, we should see the cables kind of following along. There we go. Okay, so it's almost like, well, it will be, internally it is that these pieces are constrained to these pieces, right? So you can see it's kind of following sorry, I can't speak, following along up to a point. So, you know, depending on what you set up in here, if this kind of pulls away too quickly or the movement is too fast, then that kind of relationship between the two should break. So obviously this here is a problem. I don't want this happening. Okay, I want the constraints, these constraints, not to break, and when the bridge starts to fall, I want this to be released from that. So it's like the cables which we're going to be simulating later coming down. It's like when they break, then these cables, you will see them kind of release and pop up a little bit. Okay, so we'll continue with that in the next video.